What's going on, Michigan fans? You know, it's not really the end of the season. It's just a different part of the season. We may not be playing games right now, but we still have things that we can talk about. And I want to go into a pre draft bio and breakdown for the best players from Michigan in the combine and in the draft this season. And so I want to get right into it. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. We're about 10 or 9 or 10 subscribers away from 500. So that'd be a neat little milestone to hit. So with that said, I'm going to get right into it. And I'm going to start with edge defender Derek Moore. I'm going to start with his pros. He's got an explosive first step. He's got strong hands, great motor, and he's able to convert speed to power often. Cons, he's not really a pure pass rusher yet, and some people might find that to be a little bit of a strange notion, considering some of his production stat wise. But if you watch him on film, he is inconsistent. Watch him at the Senior Bowl as well. If you look at his one-on-one drills, he did get it was pretty 50-50. He won about 50% of the time, but the other half he was completely shut down. Um, he still needs overall just development at the position, and he's not great against the run either, and has a lot of inconsistent leverage as a pass rusher. He's going to need to get a little bit stronger for the next level. Obviously, most of these guys are going to, they're not done physically developing yet. So we got to give him a little bit of grace. He's definitely the best Wolverine in the draft this season. Usually Michigan has at least one guy who you look at and you think, oh, well, he's definitely a first rounder. That's not Derek Moore. Best case scenario, Derek Moore goes in the second round. I have him as a projected round of second or third. I don't think he falls past the third round, though, because he does have too much raw upside potential. So I do like Derek Moore there in the second or third round. Moving on to Jay-Sean Barham, who is a linebacker / edge defender. Michigan played him at both. Pretty good, pretty decent numbers actually at the combine. A 4.6, 440, 10-foot, 3-inch broad jump, 33-inch vertical. Not too bad. He's got a great athletic profile. First, right off the rip, he's just got a presence about him that you want. The old mantra that we used to hear in like high school and Pee Wee of, who looks good coming off the bus, right? So he's got a great athletic profile. Got a good strong bull rush. And he has an ability to spy and cover if needed as well. He does have good athleticism overall, and kind of just naturally disruptive. He's just raw overall and limited in pass rush moves, and he does get emotional at times too. You saw that against Ohio State. So there might be a little bit of maturity things that he might need to work on. I'm not gonna say that he was a letdown necessarily at Michigan, but he was definitely brought in and kind of expected to play a bigger role, be a little bit more disruptive on a consistent basis. I thought he had first round potential when he first went to Michigan. Really good first year with us, and then last year he kind of fell off a little bit. I have him as a projected round of third or fourth. I don't see him falling past the fourth round due to just his just really good athletic profile, and his versatility. He's played in multiple schemes, so he does have good scheme versatility. Moving on to Jimmy Rolder, who actually had a very, very good combine, 36-inch vertical and 9-foot, 11-inch broad jump. He's got good sideline-to-sideline speed, smart and instinctual, solid tackler in space, good pursuit angles. He would be a very good special teams player. And if you look at him on the NFL.com draft profile kind of page, that's kind of what it says. Average backup to special teams contributor. It wouldn't shock me at all if he had a long career as a special teamer, but he does lack overly impressive athletic traits, struggles in man coverage as well. So he's probably going to be a very scheme specific linebacker in the NFL. And there's not much of a blitz impact. So you're not really going to run him on stunts or anything like that. You're just going to want him to spy. He's got good like I said, good sideline to sideline speed. Just overall good athlete. I see him more as a special teamer. I see him going fit as high as the fifth round, just off of maybe just moving him all over the field up to I have him fifth to seventh, but it wouldn't shock me if he goes undrafted. We see a plethora of dudes go undrafted every year who you think will get drafted, but Just a waiting game on that, honestly. Moving on to Rayshawn Benny, uh, had a 4.940 at the combine, so not super impressive, nothing crazy to write home about. Which it's so funny. It's really funny to me because like the average human being like probably doesn't even run a 5.5 40. Like a 5 second 40 in just like the normal world is actually quite good. So for a guy his size to run a 4.9, like it's not nothing. It's nothing to write home about for the NFL, but I just think it's kind of funny. His pros: powerful interior anchor, good run defender, plays physical with a high effort and motor. He has played in multiple schemes as well at Michigan. Kind of the, I guess you could say it's the silver lining to having so many different coaches rotate through is that, at least sets you up for success in that regard for the NFL because every team's got something a little different from one another. So cons: limited as a pass rusher, not much strength at the point of attack. There is conditioning questions. If you watch him, he does get hands on his hips. He gets tired seemingly a lot quicker than other players on the field. He might just be like a rotational player at best, but there's no shame in that. There's a need for guys like that in the NFL. So I have a projected round. I have him as high as fifth, probably sixth round, somewhere around there. Defensive tackles to me are you can find an eventual starter even as an undrafted free agent. I think he does have some good raw traits though that you might find desirable if I was an NFL team. So as high as the fifth, I am probably more like a sixth rounder. Moving on to the offensive players, I'm gonna start with Donovan McCulley. Right off the bat, just great size for an outside receiver. A 6'5", 205, 210 pound frame. Great outside receiver frame. Um, a lot of people really value his high football IQ. Being a former quarterback, he has to understand the game a lot more, and I think that will help him over time develop as a wide receiver because he can play the receiver position almost from the perspective of a quarterback and make the job of the quarterback throwing him the ball a little bit easier. Physical at the catch point and does have the potential to be a red zone mismatch. If you look at those pros, though, you see, well, what's the common denominator? It's all about physicality. It's all about attacking the ball. Why is that? It's because a lot of his cons uh, correlate to, his route running needs work. There's not much separation, and he's just overall still learning the position. You know, playing the receiver position at a high level in college for 2 seasons is not going to be adequate enough to really be an impact wide receiver at the next level right away. So he is going to, whoever takes him, whoever drafts him or signs him or whatever, they're going to have to be a little bit patient with him, I think. He's definitely going to be a practice squad wide receiver to start, but again, no shame in that. Because there's just overall limited production as a wide receiver. He was expected to be like the true de facto number one receiver for Michigan. I think he did a good job as that outside X receiver. He did his job at Michigan pretty well. Just wasn't quite the level of production that I think people were expecting. So I wouldn't say that he was like a letdown necessarily, but he surely was not quite as great as we thought he might be. Going on to Marlon Klein. Pros, he's got a good frame, and he's for the position. He's very fast. He's got a good frame to speed ratio. Very good blocker. Michigan definitely used him more as a blocker, despite having a good frame and speed. So I don't know if Michigan always used him properly. I don't know if they gave him quite enough opportunities as a pass catcher, but he is very good as a blocker. Natural leadership traits. He is a team captain. That does matter. The intangibles are something that every team obviously looks at, and he's a high effort player. Um, Kind of again after Colston Loveland was drafted, Marlon was kind of looked at as that next guy up kind of thing. And there was even guys on the team saying he was one of the fastest players on the team. I don't know if I saw that on film necessarily, but for the position, for being 6'5", 250 pounds, he is pretty fast for his size. But it Marlon to me was actually the player that was the biggest letdown from an offensive production standpoint because I thought he was going to be a really good receiving tight end, and it just never really worked out that way. Um, it doesn't help, I guess, that they did struggle at the quarterback position with not just Bryce this year at for stretches, but also Davis Warren the year prior. So there's the quarterback position does have some to play in that, but I thought that Marlon would be a little bit better. Cons for him, just a limited receiving production at Michigan, not a big seam threat as well. Uh, I feel like as a receiving tight end, you're going to have to be able to run seam routes. It's like your bread and butter almost in your route tree. So he's not he doesn't have a lot of that on film, and just needs to improve his route running overall. He's got good speed. I don't think his quickness is quite there. His agility, I don't think is quite there yet. So that's going to need some work and some refinement. I have him going, you know, based on just athletic traits. I do think that he could go as high as like the fifth or sixth round, but honestly, he's probably an undrafted free agent. This is a pretty good tight end class. So tight ends also don't get drafted a whole lot. Usually have like one per round, it seems like. Maybe two once in a while, but I don't see more than like 10 guys getting drafted, and this is a good tight end draft. And last and certainly not least, my favorite Wolverine is Max Bredesen. Kind of reminds me of, if there's any UFC fans watching, kind of reminds me of like Justin Gaethje. They refer to Justin Gaethje as your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. That's kind of how I feel about Max Bredesen. He's your favorite Wolverine's favorite Wolverine. The guy, I feel like he could play in probably any era of football, which is a testament to his toughness for sure. Um, and going in with his pros right off the bat, physical downhill runner. If you want to put him in the fullback position and run him on like goal lines or short down distance runs, he can do that. He has pretty good tape on that. Excellent lead blocker. He's one of the best lead blocking fullbacks to come out of college in a while. That's going to be where he makes his money in the NFL, is being that lead blocker. And he does have versatility as a fullback / running back, depending on the scenario, and tight end. So I think that if you wanted to convert him to tight end, I actually think you could absolutely do that. Make him a third tight end or just a blocking tight end maybe. But cons: limited long speed, not much of a receiving threat as a fullback at least, because we didn't see him. He was the kind of listed as a tight end more often, but lined up more as a fullback. So we just haven't seen him in the receiving game a whole lot. He does have an injury history, so that's something that absolutely needs to be monitored. And there's not much, quote, big play ability that he's shown. But I think Max Bredesen is one of those dudes who's going to be able to have a long 10-year career as a special teamer and be a very, very sought after and respected special teamer. And kind of like how the Patriots use Jack Westover, who's a tight end, but they lined him up at fullback more than anything. He did a lot of lead blocking stuff, maybe some misdirection routes out of the backfield, kind of throw people off a little bit. But I do think that that's where he's probably going to make his money. Projected round, I think as high as fifth. If you want somebody who's just really, a gritty, hard-nosed player who you can play in different parts of the backfield, I think he could go as high as a fifth round. But he's also probably an undrafted free agent just because it's kind of a dying position, fullback. So wouldn't shock me if he goes undrafted. But he's a great player. I think whoever takes him or signs him is not gonna regret it. He's at least gonna be a really just gritty locker room presence. So that's what I got for you. I got Derek Moore, Jayshon Barham, Jimmy Rolder, Rayshawn Benny, Donovan McCulley, Marlon Klein, and Max Bredesen. That is my quick and to the point pre-draft profile bio for each guy. We'll see how the rest of the combine goes, especially with the offensive players. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys do not just in the combine, but I'm looking forward to see where they go in the draft and see who takes them and see them go into the next step of their football careers. So with that said, I'm gonna get going. Thank you for watching. Again, consider subscribing if you like the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.